parents and brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles and friends and everybody. It's my honor and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Lick-Wilmerding High School's graduating class of 2017 ceremony. This is our 118th graduating class. It's a long time. When I think about the long history of this institution, both its collective accomplishments and the many successes of our individual alumni, I am reminded of one of the principal human questions that influences how we live our lives. So what is this big question? All right, here it is. What is the individual's place as part of a society? There's really no single answer to this question, and that is why, using the vocabulary of the Coalition of Essential Schools, it is an essential question. An essential question is one with no easy answer, and it is a question that is vital to understanding our place in the world. Thinking through what our individual role is in society is complicated. Our answer is weighted by history, by the unique circumstances of the moment, by how we are raised, by our motivations and our hopes and dreams. But know this, as humans, we stand at a fulcrum, trying to balance these equally strong poles, our individuality and the needs of a civil society. In America, this question of the individual's place in society is particularly fertile. In the European colonization of this continent, early settlers relied on tight-knit communities to survive. Society, as so well expressed in Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, must ostracize those who do not adhere to the norms demanded of the individual, or the society, the Puritans thought, would collapse. But as the Europeans spread westward and the concept of eminent domain gained a firm grasp in the American psyche, the uniqueness of the individual became part of our national identity. Our American transcendentalist authors gave voice to this new American spirit, in part as a response to the industrialization and automation of human work. Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his seminal work, Self-Reliance, notes, "What I must do is all that concerns me, not what the people think. This rule, equally arduous in actual and in intellectual life, may serve for the whole distinction between greatness and meanness. It is the harder because you will always find those who think they know what is your duty better than you know it. It is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after your own. But the great person is he who in the midst of the crowd keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude." Emerson's words are stirring, and they resonate deeply with my belief that we are indeed each unique, that we each matter deeply, that no soul is superfluous in this world. Emerson's pain inspired generations of authors, and he captured the human desire to be free of everything and anything that does not feel integral to realizing our own potential. Our natural selves, or as Emerson called it, our aboriginal self, is more authentic, better adapted to steer us toward truth, less susceptible to manipulation than the self that relies on fitting into societal norms. As a younger person, I admit to being seduced by Emerson. And even today, there is much I agree with or wish for in Emerson's vision of the world. But there is another voice in America as well, one deeply rooted in Native American traditions, but also part of the more modern American spirit that believes that institutions can and should take care of our collective needs before our individual needs. June Jordan, one of America's great writers, discusses her awakening out of this American fog of celebrating the individual in her seminal essay, Waking Up in the Middle of Some American Dreams. Jordan, you see, had received a prestigious fellowship that allowed her to move to a cottage in the woods in order to write. She even believed that her dedication to isolation in the name of art had virtue. That is, until she was violently assaulted in her cottage in the woods, and there was no one to hear her cries for help. Jordan writes, "What jeopardized my safety and my happiness was the absence of connections and the absence of sharing, a dependency among people who would care about me because I cared about them." As a writer, she followed the transcendentalists into the woods, only to find that she needed other people to be safe and sane. This implacable trust in mass individuality is destructive, Jordan goes on to say. Because if every American one of us is different and special, that it follows that every problem or crisis is exclusively our own, and conversely, your problem, not mine. Ultimately, if we take our worship of the uniqueness of the individual to its conclusion, we end up isolated from each other, and we just don't care about someone else's pain because it is not our pain. So, seniors, as you head off to new places, you too will be faced with this classic human dilemma. Am I more important than the good of my community? As I said, there is no one answer to this question, but here's a thought. I believe that we are both unique and exorbitantly connected. You see, my mother was a geneticist, and though I did not follow her into a career in science, I was heavily influenced by her musings at the dinner table about humans, and indeed how all life share a remarkable number of similarities. It got to the point when if I did something wrong, I would tell her that I inherited the behavior and it was actually her fault. To which she replied, "It's only 50% my fault, the other 50% is your father's." The truth is, genetically, we are all different, but we are all very much more the same than different. But the problem is that we forget to remind ourselves about our similarities, about the ways we share many of the same challenges and insecurities, about the ways we love our families and cherish our friends, about the very basic ways we need food and shelter and love. It is a delicate balancing act we must perform as humans. At times, we might put our own needs ahead of others, and at other times, we might put others' needs ahead of our own, even to our own detriment. There is no simple answer to this essential question of our lives. But, seniors, as you head off to meet new people, to discover cities and towns, to find your way in the world, remember that you are not surrounded by strangers, but rather by people who are more like you than different from you. The combination of appreciating your own individual specialness and an appreciation for your similarities might help you care what happens to others by also caring for yourself. I wish you all the very, very best wherever life takes you. Thank you. I now invite Susie Schmidt to the podium to introduce our first speaker.
Congratulations, class of 2017. You might not be aware of this, but your teachers often learn more from you than you do from them. And this past year, Amy Baumgartner has been one of the best teachers I have had. In the fall, when she started my gender and sexuality class, Amy came to me a little concerned that she might not be able to get in a word edgewise, given the composition of her H-block section. You know who you are. I gave her a few tips, told her not to worry, everybody would be speaking, but Amy, with her characteristic can-do problem-solving skills, learned a few things on her own, and here's what she shared with me. How to have a voice without being the loudest. How to be okay with who she was and how she operated. How to emphasize quality over quantity. How to lose that fear of failure, of saying the wrong thing, and of course, how to be open to the messiness of ideas. All of us who have shared a classroom with Amy can attest to the power of these strategies. Amy has shown me again and again what a quiet perseverance can yield. But I think that no moment of instructor learning was more profound last year than the class during which Amy and her co-conspirators, Kelby and Solène, presented their end of semester project. Using different feminist lenses, they explored the message of empowerment, or lack thereof, in music videos by female pop stars from the past 3 decades. Amy, where are you, by the way? You're right. Okay. Come on for the wings. Stand there. Amy took the lead in the close reading of the videos and lyrics from Fifth Harmony. I think I do now understand the lines. Boy, I think you know who run this house. This is from Boss. I ain't thirstin' for no bay. B-A. You also explained many an allusion in the video that I cannot mention in present company. With your insight and wit, you and your team put to shame many a pop culture scholar that I have seen at academic conferences. It is no insult to your explication skills, Amy, but I remain baffled about exactly what those band members were doing with power tools and construction equipment in their music video work from home. I just know it's not something they taught you in the lick shops. Amy, you continued to be an intellectual adventurer this spring when I offhandedly mentioned to you that it might be nifty to package your final senior paper, which was as a website, given that your project centered on depictions of web-based AI in cyberpunk. Said site soon followed, not, mind you, composed with one of those wimpy WYSIWYG editors like WordPress, but written from scratch with HTML, with a clickable bitmap, no less. I commend you, class of 2017, for your choice of speaker. At a time when so many in our country have mistaken loudness, brashness, and impulsivity for leadership. You have the wisdom. You have the wisdom to recognize that perhaps those we should listen to and follow bring a thoughtful, quiet discernment to the table. May you continue to choose so wisely.
Bring this down a bit lower. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shimmick. That was really touching. 2 hours, 18 minutes is the amount of time you'll have to endure me speak. Or at least that's how long it'll feel if you get bored. Actually, that's the amount of time until our class officially bids farewell to Lick-Wilmerding. A time of tears, some of joy, and some of sadness, of course. A time of goodbyes and new beginnings. When I look out at the audience, I see parents, teachers, classmates, and many others. I want to thank all of you for being here, for catching that red eye, driving, or maybe you walked 500 miles in order to witness this momentous day. Assuming we all get our diplomas, we won't disappoint. I will say that the amount of gray hair has increased. there are definitely more than 50 shades of gray out there. Or 60. Although the class of 2017 may have encountered a few walls, both literal and figurative, challenges are inevitable, even essential in every journey. Content of this speech has been edited to be mostly PG. I think it's a bit more appropriate than the music videos that I analyzed, although I was hoping to get my diploma before this. It's okay. And to refrain from being the most cliche speech you've ever heard, hopefully. Right now, we're at a very unique time in our lives. We stand on the cusp of childhood and adulthood, on the cusp of generations. While there's controversy about whether we're in Gen Z or the notorious millennial generation, I'm going to group us with the latter. I'm very aware of the assumptions that come with this label. As one woman on Twitter vocalized, I would rather have one foot in the grave and be great than be a snowflake. That's kind of funny. After employing some close reading, thank you English department, the author doesn't seem particularly down with our generation. I don't know why. Or maybe they just wanted to rhyme. Well, whatever the reason, why would this be relevant on graduation day? For one thing, I don't think it's fair to generalize our whole generation. Generalizations are dangerous, and that's a generalization, but I think it's necessary. And I hope you'll keep this in mind as you embark on your life journey. I'm also not going to tell you what to do, as much as I'd love to do that, since you've probably been under orders for 17 or 18 years of your life. But I highly encourage you to be the exemplars of our snowflake generation. Each one of you, especially after going through Lick, has so much to contribute to this world. I've been watching you. I know. Even if people don't like snowflakes, you, class of 2017, have the potential to alter this perception. And I think that's important. Also, global warming is occurring, so we actually need more snow. Actual snow, but also snowflakes, aka the innovative minds that will incite change for the better. So forget about making it rain. Make it snow. Although money is important, so do get a job at some point in your life. Your parents told me to say that part. Of course, we wouldn't be in this position had our 4 years at Lick not prepared us. In freshman year, we learned how to build cool things in the shops. You showed off your wood, a lot of different textures, good times, metal and electronic creations. 4 more years was the chant that rang in our innocent ears, but those 4 years flew by, for the most part. Sophomore year was cool because we were no longer freshmen. We engaged in more activities, including academic debates. Turns out arguing is a strong suit of our class. Hashtag foreshadowing. Junior year, the best. A year of self-help books, venti coffees, and sleep deprivation. Sigh. Admittedly, though, we were able to be mentors, solidify friendships, and maybe even become more than friends. You know who I'm looking at. And senior year. Started from the bottom, now we are almost at the bottom again. Except, we're here, right now. Wait, I don't think that's quite what Drake said, but it was good inspiration. And also a different song, Nick. I want to commend the hard work this class put in, at least until February, or maybe like January. From their assignments to their college essays. It is now time for retirement. Except you have to work before that happens. An impactful event of senior year was the 2016 election. Now, I won't make this political. You can do that with the relatives tonight over dinner. But whatever political views you hold, this event reminded me that you are the ones who will shape the future in your actions and your beliefs. The fate of the world rests on your shoulders, so no pressure there. Clearly, it's hard to go through Lick without growing. I mean, I personally accomplished this. My goal is to reach 5 feet by the end of college. I procrastinated on that in high school. So we'll see what happens. But I think it is fair to say that we all grew in ways that are maybe not always visible at first, such as developing our character, different passions, and awareness of others. And I was also going to imbue you with some life wisdom, but alas, I actually want you to be successful. Although I would probably suggest paying your taxes on time, more or less, learning how to change a tire, Michelin is a pretty good brand, parallel park if you get your license, and maybe cook. Instant ramen counts for sure. If anyone was wondering, about 2 hours and 12 minutes until we're done. Of course, this speech would not be complete without acknowledging the faculty and staff at Lick. Phenomenal is the adjective here. Even if we weren't tight with every single teacher, I think it's fair to say that there was at least one adult member in the Lick community that each of us just clicked with, and not just because they gave you A's. So here's the part of the speech that took a few years off my life as I struggled to craft it. I will say that it was challenging for me to speak from the I perspective, not yuck anyone else's yum, but try to represent the grade, so I did my best. It would be a slight hyperbole to say that our grade is one happy, cohesive unit. But the point here is not to blame any or all of us, at least not today. It is human nature to seek security, to find belonging, but sometimes this desire can manifest in separation instead of unity. And I don't think it's realistic to expect everyone to be BFFs with everyone else. Undeniably though, I think a large factor of our grade's experience at Lick, especially senior year, was the day-to-day polarization, which is why I see fit to attempt to smooth out a few wrinkles, or maybe make more. United we stand, divided we fall, said someone famous, possibly Aesop, according to Answers.com. And here's the part where you're probably thinking, okay, Amy's gonna tell us to cherish one another, to talk to someone new, etc. Bingo! That's exactly what I'm gonna say. However, I don't think this is the remedy to all of our problems. United we stand, divided we fall. We may all need to practice standing, everybody in this room. It may be a reality that our grade is not completely unified, but it is what we do with that information, that experience, that makes us who we are. Some of us may continue on the same path for a long, long time. And I'm not gonna try to change you. But try at least to look beyond yourself, to lean into discomfort, like really, really lean. Whether you're 8 or 108 or 188, everyone has the capacity to reach out to those around, to those who they aren't completely comfortable with. And again, I'm not telling you to do anything, but if there's one part of this speech I hope you'll wake up for, it's this one. So yes, we've encountered a few walls. Some walls are kind of like trashy. You can't climb over them, you can't dig under them, and you can't scale them. But this is when you've got to be creative, really think hard, and try to figure out how to get around them. I feel like I portrayed our class as somewhat klutzy. We walk into walls, we fall a lot. But to leave you with this impression would be straight up wrong. The class of 2017 is comprised of coordinated athletes, talented artists, dancers, gamers, floaters, musicians, entrepreneurs, architects, politicians, and people, and graduates, almost. You live and you learn, but you can't learn without living. Let that sink in, because I don't know if it makes sense. By this, I mean take healthy risks, and healthy is the buzzword here. Have fun, catch up on all the sleep you've been deprived of, buy cup noodles so you can pay your bills later, and be the person that you want to be, or the person who I want you to be as a backup. The person who will make an impact, whether it's on one individual or the world. To all the millennials, which is you, class of 2017, selfie but self-reflect. Follow your friends on Instagram, but learn to be a leader. Facebook accordingly, but also face your problems. Okay, wait, it's not over. Unless you want it to be. Oh my gosh, the watch has stopped working. But hey, that's because in reality, there's really no countdown until we leave Lick. Gotcha. You will physically leave this school, yes, I think. But Lick will always be a part of our lives, our tiger souls, and probably our checkbooks. In a good way. So use your head to think, use your heart to feel, and to keep you alive, because hearts are good for that. And as college-bound individuals, I think you'll figure out how to use your hands in one way or another. It's been an honor. Thank you so much, class of 2017.
thought I would get the opportunity to speak at graduation, and most of all, introduce Miss Gusfield. I was shocked when she came up to me and asked me if I would like to introduce her today. My first thought immediately was just wow. Out of the 2 years I was in your class, I was probably the quietest student you ever had. And you want me to speak in front of everyone at graduation. I just couldn't believe it. But Miss Gusfield is someone who will always surprise you. Whether by giving you more options on an exam than she had promised, or by beginning her class by showing off her dance skills. Miss Gusfield always brings both life and spirit to class, from the start with her love of music and dance. For me, sharing a passion with a teacher that I admire is amazing. Here are a couple ways you might guess that Miss Gusfield enjoys dancing if you never had a class with her. She's always playing music as we walk into class. Another thing, like any dancer, Miss Gusfield low-key busts out dance moves on the side if you watch carefully. And sometimes, if you don't watch that carefully, she'll break one out for fun. Once I even tested her to see if she would teach us to dance during class time. Sadly, that didn't happen. I could talk about Miss Gusfield and dancing for the entire time, but instead I'll just share one moment in one of her classes that was meaningful to me and I think really shows what kind of person Miss Gusfield is. One class, she had everyone bring in an object that represented what made us American. Immediately, as one of the few in the room who was a child of an immigrant, it was difficult trying to find anything to share. However, the reason this class was the most memorable for me because Miss Gusfield shared her story. I remember her getting emotional. To see a teacher allow herself to be so vulnerable and open made this class and every class with Miss Gusfield memorable. Miss Gusfield is a teacher who has never given up on me as a student and individual. I learned to be proud of where I come from in her class, and that even though the struggles of history may repeat themselves, I have the power to make a difference in the history books. She helped me to see that my experience matters in the world, and for that, I will forever be grateful. Also, let's go Warriors in Game 5. Without further ado, I would like to introduce your guest speaker, Ms. Gusfield.
Thank you, Keanu. And congratulations, class of 2017. You made it! It seems like just yesterday when some of you were bright-eyed sophomores in my world history class, and then eager and anxious juniors in my US history class, and now here you are. I'm deeply honored to have the opportunity to address you all today. I would like to start by doing something I've seen other speakers do at large gatherings, and am embarrassed to admit I have not yet done myself. I would like to start by acknowledging that this ceremony is being held today on Ohlone land. I would like to recognize the strength, resilience, and capacity of the Ohlone people. For anyone unfamiliar, the Ohlone are the indigenous people of this area. For almost 10 years, I have intended to begin all of my history courses by acknowledging the Ohlone, past and present. And each year I forget or get swept up in something different without giving it much reflection. In truth, there is very little pressure. In truth, there is very little pressure to prioritize this acknowledgement. It's not yet common practice in this country the way it is at many official gatherings in Australia, for example. My spell check software, perhaps created not far from here on the same Ohlone land, doesn't even recognize the word Ohlone. It suggests instead online or alone. Read into that whatever you will. But by not acknowledging the Ohlone people, both past and present, my leadership inadvertently supports the erasure of indigenous people and reinforces the myth that what is here now represents always represents the norm, represents the inevitable, represents destiny, represents progress. So thank you, class of 2017, for allowing me the opportunity to acknowledge this myth, to apologize publicly for the part I have played in the erasure of Indigenous Americans, specifically the Ohlone, and to assert a new personal commitment, perhaps a new Lick tradition, perhaps a new Facebook debate, that I can do better, that we can do better, that seemingly small disruptions of the status quo, seemingly small shifts in routine can be transformative. The central question of my address today is, how can we best create positive, transformative change? When I was first asked to speak today, I was truly daunted by the responsibility of holding this moment of celebration for you. And this truly is a moment of celebration. Congratulations again. But for me, and I think for a lot of us, this has been a really hard year. I have largely been in a state of functional grief for much of this school year. In my personal life, I have experienced a lot of loss. Politically, I have also felt the rawness of grief, as I know many of us have. This is a year in which we have contended with homelessness and gentrification, a massive refugee crisis, police violence, white nationalist terrorism, transphobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, attacks on immigrants, free speech, the environment, healthcare, women's rights, and the seemingly insurmountable cultural divisions within the nation. It is a time when it is difficult to distinguish truth from fiction. Needless to say, it has been hard this year to feel celebratory, to feel positive about the future. Author Rebecca Solnit gives me some solace. In her re-released book, Hope in the Dark, originally written in the aftermath of 9/11, she discusses the concepts of optimism, pessimism, and hope. She says, hope is not the belief that everything was, is, or will be fine. The evidence is all around us of tremendous suffering and tremendous destruction. Optimists think it will all be fine without our involvement. Pessimists take the opposite position. Both excuse themselves from acting. In contrast to the certainty of optimism and pessimism, Solnit asserts, hope locates itself in the premises that we don't know what will happen, and in the spaciousness of uncertainty is room to act. In the spaciousness of uncertainty is room to act. I imagine you are all full of uncertainties in this moment. This major life event, this ending and new beginning, and you get the additional pleasure of having your personal life transition coincide with a major societal upheaval. I can relate. I graduated from high school in the spring of 2002, just 9 months after 9/11. During our senior year, some of the boys in my class worried about a draft for the war in Afghanistan, and then later, in my freshman year of college, the war in Iraq. In the spaciousness of uncertainty, there is room to act. This has also been a year of some seriously encouraging action. We have seen athletes protest police violence, Indigenous people fight to protect water, a women's march set a new record for public protest, judges uphold anti-discrimination laws, Muslims pay to rebuild vandalized Jewish cemeteries, Jews pay to repair arson damage at mosques, lawyers become prison abolitionists, and youth advocate for the expansion of voting rights. On every issue of injustice, suffering, and destruction, people are mobilizing towards action, towards positive transformation. So what actions will your class take? You guys have already begun to answer this, which has both unified and divided you, as some have alluded to earlier. It does not surprise me that your class has experienced some division this year. Lick is not a bubble, impervious to the outside influences of cliques in our country at large. The existence of cliques among humans is totally natural. UC Berkeley's John Powell, professor of law, African American studies, and ethnic studies, argues that cliques are a response to fear, and that diversity of any kind increases fear. He argues that in the face of this fear, we have choices. We can break, we can bond, or we can bridge. Breaking means fighting to protect ourselves, explicit conflict, war. Bonding means getting really close with the ones that are most like us, staying where we feel most comfortable, the least threatened. And bridging means first questioning whether or not our fear is justified. And if the answer is no, taking concrete action to connect across difference. Concrete action to promote justice. By challenging the status quo, however, by speaking up to promote justice, that can be legitimately dangerous. As we saw last week when two courageous white men were killed in Portland for interrupting the harassment of a young Muslim woman wearing hijab. This is a terrifying precedent and a terrifying challenge to potential bridge builders. I won't dismiss that. I won't lie to you and risk putting you in harm's way by pretending that it's always easy or safe to act. You know it's not. Your parents know it's not. Still, Powell claims we have a choice. Graduation and societal upheaval offer an opportunity for us to reevaluate our actions. Those of us who have chosen division can learn to be more courageous. We can critically examine our fears and learn to distinguish true danger from tribal neuroses. We can learn to become bridge builders. For those of us already thinking about reaching out, it's time to act, even in small ways. It's time, as your history teachers often say, to get off the fence. That's for you. So graduates, community, I want you all to know that I am truly and sincerely less afraid of a future in which your courage, your creativity, and your enthusiasm is unleashed. Graduates, my confidence in you has little to do with what school you are going to next year or what you end up doing for a living. I want you to know that your value does not lie in your name brand college, or how much money you make, or how large an audience you attract with your first TED Talk. Your worth does not lie in your productivity, or your title, or your popularity. My confidence in you lies in knowing that after 4 years at Lick, you are joining me in the adult world with the analytical skills to identify systems of power and recognize injustice, the listening skills that allow you to bridge across difference, and the technical skills to construct creative solutions to real problems. That's my fancy version of head, heart, hands. It's okay if you feel shaky on some of these areas, but remember, in the spaciousness of uncertainty, there is room to act, and it is time to choose action. Some of you have already done so once this year when you organized a walkout after the election. Others similarly chose action by staying behind for clear, principled, and valid reasons. One of the great adventures of adulthood is learning to develop your own internal compass. Remember, you don't need anyone's permission to stand up for what you believe in. As a dancer and an academic, I sometimes get confused about how to make important decisions. Do I rely on my head with logic, reason, pro-con lists, critical thinking, and analysis? Or do I lead with my heart, my stomach, my shoulders, my breath, my body? Western culture emphasizes leadership of the head. I think, therefore I am. Early Enlightenment philosopher René Descartes, France, 1637. But our bodies also have a great deal to teach us if we learn how to listen better. According to the internet, More on that in a second. In many indigenous cultures, when people feel unwell, it is common for healers to ask, when was the last time you danced? When was the last time you sang? When was the last time you told a story? When was the last time you sat alone in stillness? The wisdom here is as simple as it is valuable. In order to be healthy, we need to regularly engage with the arts and with some kind of meditation. We need it. But this wisdom is also largely dismissed in Western societies. Even as students scramble to fill their schedules with extracurricular activities, the arts are often the first to be cut in lean times. It is telling that I could not find any academically reliable or specific reference for this anecdote. Some sites I found credited the Cree people of Canada, others traditional African shamans. Another site suggested indigenous people of Papua New Guinea. Like the word Ohlone, waving spell check's red underline flag, this lack of reliable citation here carries weight. It says, don't take this seriously. Like the Ohlone, however, by not acknowledging the source of this knowledge, we actually erase it. We can deepen our commitment to action by paying more attention to our bodies. Your body can be powerful intuition. It can help you decide when a risk is safe, productive, and maybe even a little fun. And it can alert you when a risk is too dangerous. Let's take a moment. Put both your feet flat on the floor. Everybody, try this out. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. I'd like you to try to think of a time when you felt ashamed. Can you identify where in your body that memory lives? Now I'd like you to think of a time when you felt proud. Where in your body does that memory show up? Take a deep breath in. Go ahead and open your eyes. That might have been a little too fast, and I encourage you to go try some more of that on your own at home if you want. But this and other embodied practices can be especially useful in times of transition, when you're deciding who your new friends will be, or when you are faced with how to respond to the suffering and destruction of our historical moment. But the body can also be misleading. It can trick us into irrational fear of difference. And we all, now more than ever, must learn to develop sophisticated strategies to distinguish truth from myth. To conclude, you guys are almost there. I can't promise you an easy life or a perfect world. I can't tell you exactly how to act moving forward, but I know that the moment is ripe for action, and that in order to act in the name of justice, we must commit to examining our own fears and to distinguishing truth from fiction. I teach history because it helps me remember that things are constantly changing, that grief and hope always coexist, that a variety of human societies can be influenced and survived. We stand today on Ohlone land in the middle of great upheaval. This land has already seen great change, and more is coming. We have important choices to make today about how we listen, how we learn, and how we act moving forward. I trust you, class of 2017, to develop your own sophisticated way of determining truth. And then I trust you to act on it. Congratulations, graduates.
pleasure today of introducing two young adults that I met when they were in 9th grade biology together. 4 years ago, they were kids, still pretty tall, entering this high school with sincere enthusiasm and excitement for learning. To properly challenge them, and for these two, challenge equals fun. For their biology teaching project, I had to find a topic that was so new and little understood that it was one I had never included in the unit before. Oliver and David successfully taught the class, and me, about epigenetics and its possible role in evolution. They collaborated, found fantastic resources, designed a thoughtful hands-on interactive component, and presented with confidence. That was the beginning of our relationships, with me learning alongside them and continually being impressed. David and Oliver are both scholars, dancers, leaders, and actors. In the 4 years I have known them, they have each continually pursued growth opportunities whenever presented. For a few small highlights, David co-captains the Ocean Bowl team, captain of track team, was a senior leader for Frosh Retreat. Oliver was Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. He played a major role in the Vote 16 initiative and has been meeting with the Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary Advisory Council as a student voice for our public resource. And that is the tip of the iceberg. Of course, they both have done so much more to engage in our community. I want to expand, though, for a moment on endeavors that broke their hearts a little this past year. Vote 16 and Sea Lion Bowl 2017. Oliver worked tirelessly on the Vote 16 campaign. He helped raise over $100,000 to get it on the ballot. He was eloquent as he was interviewed on KQED's forum, and the prop lost by a mere 4% margin. David led our Ocean Bowl team this year, learned all the ocean from the epipelagic to the hadal zone, inspired the team, and they were defeated in the last round of competition by 1 point. What I admire about these two is not how much they have succeeded or won, but is how they engage in challenges with zeal. And when they have stumbled, they have taken a day to be bummed. Yes, they have been bummed. And then they have rebounded with enthusiasm, showing intense persistence and resiliency. They have grown from their setbacks. And this is also about the community that we have been for them. They didn't have to rally alone, but did so with the buoying support of this class of 2017 and their families. Oliver and David are activists, environmentalists, feminists, and they care strongly about social justice. As a famous doctor once wrote, "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not." These two, like their classmates, care a whole awful lot. And, like their classmates, they work intensely hard. And I, for one, am excited to see how they and you all change the world. I give you David Ludicky and Oliver York.
That just got real. So, that's falling. David and I met in our first ever block of high school. It was Dance 1, A block. And as Ms. Ashenfelter noted, we have continued to share interests throughout the years, from dance to architecture to marine science. And for years, it seemed like our interests would never diverge. But finally they did. Just 2 days ago, I decided to try my luck at impersonating Jason Derulo, and David became a Barry B. Benson aficionado. Yes.
Another fun fact, Oliver and I are going to be Lick's very last valedictorians. Congratulations, faculty and staff. This is the last time you'll have to endure socially awkward nerds' attempts to incorporate humor into their speeches. Regardless, we hope to rock the boat of valedictorian ship one last time before it sinks into the depths of Lick's history.
Oh, the ocean puns are deep with this one. So, Ms. Ashenfelter just told you all a little bit about some of our failures, and some of you are probably surprised.
David and Oliver, failures?
But you're co-valedictorians.
And you're both so handsome.
And to that, we'd like to say, Mom, please sit down.
I think we've all had enough of this tag teaming, so without further ado, I'll let Oliver take the stage.
So, midway through the year, the freshman class takes a week-long retreat to do team-building activities. And our freshman year, one of our assignments was to write a letter to our future selves. And I opened my letter this week. In my letter, I wrote that David was in my inner circle of friends. I was a very serious freshman. And so it is only fitting that we are here together today. But I want to take a breath and carefully transition into something a little bit more serious. So, fellow members of the class of 2017, I want to wade into a fairly tricky topic. But first, some background for our friends and families. The question that politicized our grade at the beginning of this year was whether or not we should hang an American flag in the senior section of the cafeteria, which we affectionately call the CAF. Some students wanted to hang the flag as a show of their national pride. Some students didn't want to hang the flag because they didn't identify with a sense of American pride. Some students didn't want to seem supportive of the long history of terrible things that have been done in the name of the flag, and still others didn't support flags or the idea of separating an international identity into national ones. All of these are valid perspectives, and our conversation last fall was full of controversy and passion. I'm going to take the risk today to stir this pot again. The American flag debate represents a lot of the issues that we're going to be grappling with over the next few years. What is free speech? What is our role as individuals in a collective? And how do we define a national identity? Also, the political landscape has changed so dramatically since our August debate that we need to revisit and potentially revise our ultimate decision to not put up a flag. At Lick, we've been taught to suspend judgment, so I'm going to ask that in true Lick fashion, you hear me out. At this dangerous moment in American history, I believe that we have a political imperative that supersedes all others. We must hang the American flag. And there are two reasons. Hanging the flag is now a matter of personal safety. Most of us participated in protests this year. Many of us wanted to show support for the people in our community who were rightly terrified of what it might be to live under a new regime. I am the son of an immigrant. I am the grandson, the great-grandson, and the great-great-grandson of immigrants. And just like them, I am also a proud American. And like many of you, I participated in protest because I have a different vision of what this country can be. But here's the danger. If we allow others to label us unpatriotic, we will lose our politically determined right to have rights. If we allow others to label us as unpatriotic, we will lose our right to have civil liberties. We simply cannot let one political party own patriotism the way the right has owned family values or the way the left has owned gay and lesbian rights. If the right owns nationalism, the rest of us become the other, the un-Americans, and it becomes easy for politicians to claim that we don't matter. Finally, if we're labeled unpatriotic, a lot worse will happen than some caution tape and a few class meetings. So the flag matters, because we have a need to demonstrate patriotism to the outside world. But there's a second, more constructive reason for us to reconsider our relationship to the American flag. We have an opportunity to reclaim the flag, to reappropriate it, to redefine it. We have the opportunity to have a thoughtful conversation about our values. I want us to reclaim the flag and reclaim patriotism, separating the pride of what our nation can be from jingoism. I want us to redefine the American flag as representing the promise, as of yet unrealized, of a society where everyone in our community can be a civic actor, regardless of citizenship, of identity, or of age. And as much as we might like to joke about Cal Exit, I want the flag to remind us of the responsibility that we have to other communities across the country. Our responsibility to listen and engage with them as thoughtful, compassionate people, and their responsibility to do the same with us. I'm 17, so please allow me some idealism. And so, as we approach our final moments together as the not yet graduated class of 2017, I want to end by looking to our future. What does civic engagement look like for us in the digital age? Beyond the flag, it remains our duty and hopefully our pride and satisfaction to stay engaged in civic life and to be meaningful civic actors. Only by engaging in our political system can we consistently renew the social contract generation by generation and reaffirm the moral groundwork of our participatory democracy. After spending 4 years with all of you, I know for a fact that we are highly social beings. So let me remind you that civic engagement can be fun. The interactions that comprise meaningful civic engagement might be a way that we learn to live a meaningful life. I've been really proud to be a part of our grade this year as we've come into our own and we've found our political voice. It started in the senior section with the American flag, and then the election happened, and this semester people have continued to rally around other issues. I want to thank all the student activists in our grade and at Lick who have led rallies and discussion groups, and I want to thank our teachers for giving us every day the tools and the encouragement to allow us to be political. Of course, we have so much more to learn. We have to learn that protest is only one of the many tools we have available to us if we want to make lasting change. We have to learn to vote, even if it is a little inconvenience while we're in college, taking a gap year, or starting to work. We have to learn to interact with our elected officials, and we have to realize that we can do good anywhere, in the public sector, in the private sector, or in the relationships that form community. Because change never starts at the top. It starts from students and young people like us. Everyone is telling us that college will be a great opportunity to remake ourselves and to start fresh. But let's not forget some of the things we've learned together this year. Now that you're engaged, please don't ever let yourself disengage. Never doubt that you have the capacity to make change, no matter how bad the news is. Never doubt that your opinions matter, and never stop imagining a better world. I could not have imagined a better place or a better group of people to have spent the last 4 years with. Thank you. I love you, class of 2017, and congratulations.
For the past 4 years of high school, a hallmark of our Lick-Wilmerding education has been reflection. We've reflected on classes, activities, workshops, and discussions. We've reflected on Oxford debates and the joys of group projects. We reflected on our identities to the point of exhaustion. We've reflected on our goals, and sometimes we even get the exciting opportunity to reflect on our reflections. But today, for old time's sake, I'd like to reflect with you all one more time in the most vulnerable way I can. I am not straight. For many of you, this may be somewhat of a plot twist. For others, this may not come as a surprise. Some of you might not care at all, which is comforting in its own way. And some of you may feel confused or even hurt that I didn't share this with you earlier. To each of you in the last group, trust me when I say, I wanted to tell you. My years-long delay was not born out of a distrust in you, but rather a result of my own inability to accept the truth. Coming out has been one of the most challenging things I've done at Lick. In hindsight, it's clear that being bisexual shouldn't matter at all, that I was bound to get an overwhelmingly positive or at least neutral response from this predominantly liberal bubble. But when the only conversations I'd had about my sexuality for years were with myself in my own head, it seemed immensely important, defining, damning, and terrifying. Terrifying for just how easy it is to continue passing in silence as if there's nothing wrong or different with that part of me. My message today is universal. Regardless of your sexual orientation, everyone has, at one point or another, existed in silence. Everyone has doubted themselves. Whether your lack of self-assurance stems from the messages our school or society send you about your race, class, gender, religion, or ability, we've all had and will have reasons to think we're not enough or not correct. We are told to mute our depression and downplay family problems. Some of you are trapped between the unjust labels of slut, tease, and prude, and others are pummeled with the message that real masculinity leaves no room for expressing sensitivity, vulnerability, or pain. Mainstream standards of beauty devalue shades of skin and textures of hair and types of bodies. But we all deserve self-assurance, and we all deserve self-love. What I've learned from my experience is the danger of remaining locked in the perceived safety of my own mind. There's a danger in having conversation after conversation in desperate silence, because eventually your reality and self-perception will be warped. In between my stages of denial and suppression, I felt cursed. In those moments, intellectual thought and rationalism don't matter, because in this great nation, where being called gay is the single most common put-down in middle and high schools, deeply internalized homophobia is quick to form and slow to break down. For me, it means anytime sexuality is mentioned in an English or history discussion, my heart rate goes up and my hand stays down. Yet looking back on my experience, it's clear to me that in so many ways I am blessed. I'm blessed to exist in a moment in history when millions of people have rejected silence and instead fight for equal rights. I'm blessed to have two parents and two brothers who love me regardless of who I may love. I'm blessed to have an amazing group of friends who are instantly accepting of the part of me that is still taking me years to accept. And I'm blessed to go to a school where so many fellow students had the courage to come out long before I did. To those of you in the class of 2017, and you know who you are, thank you. Simply existing existing as yourself, finding happiness with your identity, and staying proud has meant more to me in these past 4 years than you can imagine. I've watched and learned from each of you, and I thank each of you for finding the strength to be true to yourselves. When we are courageous, we might provide help we don't even know we're giving. To speak about issues that matter to us and support the people in our communities is a gift. A gift of clarity to ourselves and encouragement to everybody else. We've all received this gift at some point. We've all stayed at this school because every person in our grade has been made to feel valued and accepted, whether in a peer group or by a single member of the faculty. These invitations to live authentically are beautiful and something we should always pay forward. In the next few years, we'll have a lot of choices to make. We'll choose what to major in, how to budget our time, how to treat other people. But even in those things we can't change, those qualities or characteristics or circumstances we are born with, we have agency. We can choose how to respond. We can choose to reach out to and confide in the people who love us and want to support us. We can choose to search for the support system we need even when we don't believe one exists. We can choose to resist toxic messaging and fight the tendency to sink into self-hate. We can choose to be there for each other. We can choose to speak up.
Good afternoon. It's hard to generate words after those speeches. They just so powerful. Adults, students sharing your wisdom, your truths. Thank you also to our amazing musicians and choral group. And congratulations, class of 2017. This is the transition ceremony. This is the transition in your lives. It's go time. Are you ready? All right, let's do it.
What time is it? 4!
And as they make their way, I just want to let you know this is the part where we have audience participation. So audience, are you ready to bring it to? Lee Adams. Omar Wasim Aleman Jr. Max Austin. Lindsay Mia Buck. Zachary Cody Bear. Lauren Adam Joseph Barr Neworth. Amethyst Michelle Baumgartner. Nigel Case Berkeley. Louis Jackson Bobrow. Nicole Allen Borders. Maya Simone Burris. Amy Veronica Bushman. Bonnie Lee Castleman. Lauren May Chu. Kate Cassidy Beam Lawson. Matt J. Clifford. Kira Coe Collins. Rebecca Ann Cormack. John Albert Martin Craig. Nathan Samuel Craig. Charles Cal Sentman Crumpton IV. Annika Adelina Cummings. Chloe Linder David. Eva Roshin Denman. Shelby Elizabeth DeVolder. George Dickey. Cameron Marcus Dixon. Benjamin Louis Fleischman. Liza Folsom. Meredith Bryant Fry. Eric Duran Garcia. Jonah Aaron Gerard Grossman. Hilda Sagrario González Jerónimo. Solen Helene Granger Monson. Zelly Page Gray. Eugene Han. Jae Hyun Han. Nicole Aber. Daniel Ellis Holzman. Kylie Page Hong. Nate Joseph. Anima Nandan Joshi. Leila Kashani Sabit. Ryan Othniel Kearns. Ayana Kelly. Ryan Kimball. Parker Ditmore Claiborne. Kelby Blake Kramer. Lily Crouse. Nicholas Kenhay Lamb. Jean-Daniel Leroy. Justin K. Lee. Jake Chan Lennon. Avi Narayan Chavla Young. Christopher Andrew Young. Alana Keiko Leventhal.
Lobo Jack! Yeah!
Amelia Lorraine Levin Sheffield. Jane Ying Yu. Matthew Liu. Chloe Murphy Lombardo. David Jordan Ludicky. Oliver Kekolani Mancini. Loic Paul Roger Marcon. Gianni Stephanie Martinez. Xiomara Bella Grande Mesa. Ryan Zarandian Motoshemi. Herman Francisco Moncada. Elena Brennan Moore. Audrey Holomanderi. Alyssa Gabrielle Sanchez Nicholas. Helen Rose Yu-Ying Stevenson Norsini. Joseph O'Connell. Camille Madison Savannah Ocarisano. Charlotte Hannah Quinn. Jill Margaret Riley. Emmanuel Rich. Colette Carson Sachs. Annika Karina Salmi. Bennett Schneider. Maya Marguerite Schwartz. Arjun Shah. Leila Shokat. Aiden Nisra Siebel. Isabel Maria Fazio Sue. Laura Grace Stacy. Ryan Bridge Stewart. Mayo Joshua Taylor Jackson. Zoe Thatcher. Chip Thompson. Jared Ryan Tickton. Alexandra Zwingring Tien Smith. Alexander Cole Tom.
What's that spell? Lick-Wilmerding!
Drew Dwyer Tomeo. Aiko Grace Tomita Fairchild. Alonso Trujillo. Warren H. Say. Lucas Jackson Unitas. Mariano Franchi Velasquez. Samuel Alexander Watson. Isabel Welsh. Senta Giselle Wiederholt. Jamila Gabrielle Max Wilson. Bonnie Quinn Yi Wong. Jared Trevor Wong. Sophia Sarang Shin Yin. Oliver Sungri York.
How about that? Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and celebrating with us. We're so proud of this class, and we can't wait to hear what they have in store. And so, congratulations to the graduated class of 2017.